Hello and welcome to Paper Plays Julie K.
Welcome, crafty friends, and thank you so much for stopping by to check out my latest video. And today I am sharing with you a very fun fall-themed journal that I created that I've been working on for a little bit. This one took me a little bit longer than what I thought. You can see it's very chunky, as usual for me. I love to fill my journals up. And then this one's a little bit different because I did piece together a whole bunch of scraps of material. And then I also stitched around each of the pieces of the material. So most of them I just kind of did like a little cross stitch, like a little X pattern. But then there was a couple that I just kind of did in and out, just a basic stitch. I just wanted to see how long it would take me to do like a slow stitch project. I thought about maybe trying to do some leaves or something in some of these little squares, but I just kind of ran out of time and decided that, as much as I love all the journals that everyone does for slow stitching, I don't think that I'll be doing too many of them. I just don't have the patience for it. But I did do all this stitching while I was watching other people's YouTube videos, so it was, kind of fun to have a little project while that happened. And on the side of this, you can see on the spine, I added some doilies that were kind of in a fall theme color and some flat back pearls on it. And then getting to the cover, the main piece that I had on my cover was this gorgeous embroidery piece. And this one is actually a very special piece for me. I've been holding on to it for a long time. Growing up, we had a neighbor couple. Their names were Russ and Tracy, and they were kind of like a grandma and grandpa to me and my sister. We'd go over there every day and have, right after school, we'd knock on the door before we went home, because Tracy would give us a piece of candy. So, and then other times when, even when we were that age, when we were old enough to stay home alone, but, didn't necessarily want to go home right away, we'd actually go over there and she'd make us a malt or a little treat or something before we went home and waited for our parents to get home. So they were kind of a special couple to us. And she passed away before I got married, but she had a little package set aside that said for Julie on her wedding day. And in there was a set of pillowcases along with some sheets and some other things. But the pillowcases were embroidered on. And so I did use them for a long time until they kind of got yellowed and whatnot, but I did save them. And so this one was the little pattern that was on there. And then you can also see little hints of this little yellow, and that was the crochet edging on the pillows. So I do have some of that kind of throughout the journal too. So that was the little explanation for that piece. And so the journal is filled with leftover scrapbooking fall themed papers that I have in my stash. I tried to use up a lot of that. But if you see any digitals in the journal, they all come from Lorna Taylor. And so I did use this fun little she has a fall ephemera kit, and then she also had a mushroom and fern kit that I loved the coloring of some of the mushrooms. They were kind of nice fall colors, so I added a lot of those in here. And then I also have some bits and pieces left over from some of her other kits from past projects. So I had this fun little mushroom piece from one of her, the mushroom and fern kit, but then I layered a doily that I had cut out the center of. And then around there, I added, there's lots of doilies. I added some small flowers from my stash. There's some little ribbon roses. I also had these fun little, metal, leaf embellishments that I added, just to kind of give it a nice full look on the cover. And then you can see all sorts of wonderful little laces and trims. Some of these are vintage that I've picked up over time at the thrift stores or antique malls that are little crochet edging, some vintage lace. This flower trim right here is not vintage, but it matched, so I had to use it. And then I also had this kind of trim right here that I found at a thrift store. And I had found this fun little earring set with a leaf on it, so I did add that right there. I was going to put it on the cover, but it just I couldn't find the perfect spot for it on the cover, so I just added it here. It can be taken off. And when you open up on the inside again, lots of different layers of trims. I also tried to use a lot of rickrack trim, so you're going to see a lot of rickrack trim throughout the journal. I have a ton of it, so I was trying to use it up. So I pulled out any of the colors that I had in my stash that kind of matched fall-themed colors. And then I do have a pocket at both ends, and those were made from a napkin that my mom's neighbor Joanne, she gifted me quite a while ago, lots of linens that she had left over. A lot of them were stained, and I think she had said she'd use this one year for Thanksgiving. And so I cut up some of the napkins to make pockets, and I know that she did the little bit of quilting and the little bit of embroidery that were on these. So that was kind of fun to be able to use a couple pieces from Joanne. And on the inside of that pocket, I just have a little book board, just a writing book board that you can stick to write on behind the pages. And I didn't do any decorating on that just because I like to be able to make sure that it's easy to write using that. I also altered a bingo card. I put a little napkin over it that had red on it. And at the bottom, I added some trim that I made into a ruffle. This fun little leaf trim, which I picked up a couple years ago from Angel Dreams Crafts from Kim's shop on Etsy. Layered up some vintage lace and also the word cherish. So that was kind of fun to use a bingo card that I've had in my stash. Just a little journal card that I made out of scrapbooking paper. And then I have a little paper bag that I made and layered, this is clip art from Lorna's kit, the labels from one of her kits, and also the fall-themed ephemera. I added some lace and some sentiments. And the little card on the inside I recycled. It was actually a card from my cousin's wedding. And so I covered up some of the information and then covered up where you could kind of see their photo through the paper in the back. So again, just using up some scrapbooking paper. And then this is a bag flips over, and I have some another little tag in my stash. Here's another Lorna Taylor label. I added the word "Life is Beautiful" along with some trim and just some coffee dyed paper. And the tray that I made the coffee dyed paper from, this was from a long time ago. It had little holes in it, and so it actually showed through. I think this was my last piece from that. And then I also have some different vocabulary cards. I think this one was in the German one. And this one just says the seasons. And so I did circle fall or autumn on that one. A little cluster with the word grateful on it. Just some writing space. The background paper, this particular paper, if you look, one of Lorna Taylor has a coffee dyed kit with backgrounds and lace on it. So that's what this one is. It matched my color scheme that I was going with perfectly. Beautiful laces and trims again on the sides. I had a little kindness card in my stash, and I have a whole set of them, but I've been using them every now and again, and I pulled out one that had some nice little fall colors on it. This one actually has a Bible verse on it from Matthew 6, and then just another little kindness sentiment on the back. And I just attached that with a little paper clip at the top. I did try to do some little stamping kind of throughout with using some of my different fall themed type rubber stamps or stamps with sentiments on them. I did some stenciling. I did also edge all of my book pages, and I used either vintage photo or rusty hinge from Tim Holtz Distress Inked. I also added, I went through some of my flower books that I had, and I pulled out a couple of the pages that had fall looking colors on them. They aren't necessarily fall flowers, but this one I thought was kind of pretty with the colors on it. And when you flip that one over, there is another one of Lorna Taylor. She had the fun little images with the fairies on them. So I have that one that I added, and then another little I think this one again is German. I have a few of these cards, but this one says calm, still, quiet, quiet. So just, I love calm, quiet fall days. So I added that one there, just some layering. Again, from Lorna Taylor, she has the fall ephemera kit. Some layering down here, and this one's actually a belly band with some lace on there. You can see some of the coffee dyed paper from her digital kit. This one was really pretty, so that's why I tried to have it so when you took out the tags that you could see a little bit of the paper. And I just kind of did a quick little decorating at the top of this flash card. There isn't really much to it. Again, like a cut up piece from one of the fall ephemera kit from Lorna's kit. I just had that left over from something else I cut out. Again, an image from her fall ephemera kit, and then I also stamped a sentiment on that card. I just did some layering, and the back side has lines on it, an index card, so you can actually write on it. I love to heavily decorate my journals, but I like to have lots of spots you can still journal on. And, you know, beautiful lace again at the side. Right here, I have a couple little, I have a pocket. I have like a little house mouse paper that I had that was kind of cute to make it into another little writing spot on top of the pocket. One of the mushrooms cards from Lorna's kit, and I did sew around the edges of that one. And again, I have some sort of writing spot on the backs of all these. I used some leftover pieces from Graphic 45 that I had left over from scrapbooking paper. And so I used some of those kind of throughout. And then also, I think this was Bo Bunny scrapbooking paper. It was just a scrap I had. And again, I just added paper on the back, either tea-dyed or coffee dyed with some stenciling. This one I did sew around the edges, and also the pretty beautiful lace on there. I have some music paper, and when you see the actual title of the music paper, I tried to showcase or have that, I'll try and point it out, but they all had like autumn or fall themed names to the music. More stamping. This one just opens up for writing space, and again I did some stamping in that one. Some layering. There's a digital image from Lorna's kit. That came from some scrapbooking paper. I have a die cut of a leaf, and I did a little bit of like painting over it with a little bit of gold paint. And then I think, yeah, this one I also have another little card in there, kind of similar to the last one that I did. And then the lace, I have just a really small little pocket there. It's kind of a sheer pocket that the lace created. But again, another journal vocabulary card. This one just says the walk, stroll. And again, I think that one's in German on the other side. But I just thought, you know, in the fall, it's nice to go for a walk. So I chose that one. This one says memoranda on it, and it's an old vintage page that I tore out of a cookbook, and it's just writing space. And then some scrapbooking paper, again, with just some writing space. Did some stenciling on that one, just for some extra spots to write on. And this is the middle of the first signature. This one is 2 signatures. I did add a couple of pine cone charms on this one, and when I tied it off in the down here. Also another Graphic 45 scrapbooking paper that I just decorated the top of. Not Graphic 45. I think this one's Bo Bunny. And I thought this one was light enough that you could write on it on the back side. So I didn't do anything on the back side of that one. And then also another altered bingo card that I had some in red. And then I put a napkin over the top of it. So kind of just some basic decorating on that. And you can write on the back side. I had this fun little pumpkin card, and my sister recently had a baby shower for her daughter-in-law, and she had little cards like this where she wrote like all the food and stuff. And so she had a couple that she didn't use, and she gave them to me to use in scrapbooks or junk journals. So that came from her. And a little vintage piece of crocheted trim that I used for that pocket. I made a little pocket for here, and this one is a Kate Marshall pocket where she actually cut out a long envelope to make one of these. She just recently had it on her channel. And if I remember, I'll try to link the video for how to make a pocket similar to that. But I wanted to try it, so. And I just filled it up with some scrapbooking paper that I cut up. And this one I made a little bookmark, so you could use that if you wanted to for journaling or in keeping track of where you are in the journal. And I just lined it with some ledger paper on the back. Can't remember where I had all these papers, but that works. Again, just a little cluster that I made. Another little scrapbooking piece that I cut out and used on the top of the paper. Another stamping. So this side of the paper, it's called Autumn Gold. So in this one I also did some napkin decoupage on there. I thought that was kind of pretty. And I did leave it folded over because I was thinking the owner could, if she wanted to, glue this shut to make it a pocket if she wanted to. So I didn't do anything there other than just kind of leaving it that way. This one's a little bit of an interactive one on this page. So if you move this, then it opens up a writing spot. I have a little journal card in there and some more writing paper. And this little yellow piece right here came off of a piano book with music in it. And it just matched the colors, and I happened to have it sitting close by, so it ended up finding its way into the journal. Again, just some decorating trim on the side. Again, some crocheted trim that came off of pillowcases. Fun little belly band, and I put some paper in it. It's a pocket belly band, so you can journal on this side and also the back side. And then I did have a little fold-out sheet in here, so you can journal here. And this just folds closed if you want it to. A little postcard, again from a Bo Bunny kit, I think. And then I have a little extra belly band here on the pocket belly band. And I just added a little piece of ephemera on there. Again, Lorna Taylor label. Partial envelope that I did add some rickrack trim. I added a little tab and some trim. And then you can just open this up, again, scrapbooking paper on some tea-dyed paper for extra writing spots. And when you flip it over, again, mushroom from the mushroom kit, another scrapbooking paper that I had decorated. I also stamped the word family on top of it. This next one is a hidden paper clip. I'm not going to take it off. But I did, if you look here, I have a book page and it talks about some sort of different type of red maple trees. It's from a tree book. Some writing paper, lined writing paper. On the other side, I have just a little journal card from the paper clip. A short little pocket here. It does say October leaves. That came from a scrapbooking paper. And I had a little recipe card just so you could write down your favorite fall recipe. And then just some little ephemera pieces. Some I decorated, some I didn't. It just kind of depended. I tried to use up any scraps I had. Like this one was just a tiny little scrap of a ruffle that I made that I added to the journal card. This side right here, I just have some writing space, just using some different scrapbooking papers. Another mushroom image from the digital kit. This envelope does open up to have a little journal card in it. I'm not going to open it up just because I want to keep on going here on the video. I did leave a spot that you could put a pen here in the middle. This one's a pencil. I think it's a little too fat for this spot, but I did have a pen in here and I don't know where it went. But it is a spot for a pen or a writing utensil, so I did leave that here in the middle. And then we're on to the second signature. So this one, I have another image from the Fall Ephemera kit, a label. And then I have kind of a little decorative bag that I found in my stash, a little paper bag. And I added a old library, like checkout thing where they had the dates on it. The name's escaping me what that's called, a due date thing. And then I had another one that came from like a scrapbooking paper or something. But I used that because I thought, you know, with the lines, you still can write on that if you want. I did some layering in the background, some seam binding that I made into kind of a rough ruffle. Not a perfect one. I like the ones that are kind of mismatched, and they aren't perfect. Scrapbooking paper with a little pocket at the bottom, and again, some little ephemera that came from scrapbooking paper. I also pulled out from the German vocabulary cards. This one is feast, festival, celebration, or religious holiday. Again, I was kind of thinking of Thanksgiving coming up, so I added that one to the ephemera. This one I had a cute little card with a mouse on it, with a pretty yellow color that's kind of a fall color, and it does open up, and it was a card. But I stamped, it was a blank card. I did stamp a sentiment that says, "We do not remember days, we remember moments." And I did make it into a pocket, so it does pull out. And again, just another piece of ephemera that I made from scrapbooking paper and then coffee dyed paper on the back with a little stamped image of an acorn. And then this one again, mushroom cards from the Mushroom and Fern kit. And they do open up. And you can journal on the back sides if you want, but then there's also space here to journal. A little tag that I created using the Fall Ephemera kit and the label kit, and I added a little button and a little leaf on there. Again, a little sentiment at the top, and I'm holding that on with a paper clip. The tag was actually made on like a clothing tag, so it's kind of a sturdy one. Again, an image from the Fall Ephemera kit, and I put it on a circle, and then it opens up to reveal another journaling space. Again, a little stamped sentiment, and then you can also pull this tag out. I did some layering on the one side and then writing space on the back side. And then on the other side, you can see that that was an envelope. I do have like a little journaling card there. You can write 6 things down. I found a cute little vintage postcard with a little chipmunk on it. So I decided to add that. I just like the green color in it. And this one was never used, so there's lots of writing space on that one. And I just added a little trim to the top of it just to make it a little easier to pull out of the envelope. A cute little belly band that I created using some trim in my stash. And I have this gorgeous little tag or journal card that I created using one of Lorna Taylor's Fall Ephemera images. And layered up in the background with laces, and also stamped the word autumn at the bottom of it. And again, spot to write on the back side. And this one is just some blank paper to go ahead and write on, other than I did a little border there. And I used a little coffee cup paper clip from my stash for that one, which is kind of fun. And I have one of the flip up pockets, corner pockets, again, writing space. Little label, Lorna Taylor's one of her labels, and I added a little tag in there, a little word, and I filled it with a journal card. And then this is kind of a blessing of the day kit that I have. I have a whole bunch of cards, and so I just took out the Bible verse, "There is a time for everything and a season for every activity under heaven, a time to be born, a time to die," from Ecclesiastics. So I added that one in there. Another music paper. This one I added just a little tag that I had in my stash that had a sunflower on it. Another kind of torn pocket. a little scrapbooking paper where it talks about family. It has a little sentiment. I just added the little leaf on top. And the back side was a postcard so that you can actually, you know, use that for writing on. And I stuck just a couple of small pieces of ephemera in a little scrap that I made into a pocket. Another one of Lorna Taylor's labels. Backside is plain, so you can use that if you want, or if you wanted to glue it down somewhere, you could. I just thought it looked pretty in there with the other two things. Some stamped images. This is a bag, a tall bag, and you can see I layered another one of Lorna Taylor's fall images from the ephemera kit. Did some layering on there. And then behind there, there is a pocket. And I added a graphic 45 card in there. There was some stamping on the back side of that one. There's the lace trim right here that kind of holds, makes a little pocket that holds that card. Also some vintage trim, kind of in a fall color on the bottom. Did some stamping on the envelope. And there's just in this one, there's just a piece of like writing paper in it. And then when you flip it over on the back side, I had just two little journal cards, you know, scrapbooking journal cards that again are blank on the back side other than I stamped on them. Just as a little extra decoration. A fun little collage that I created, or cluster. One of the fairy images from one of Lorna Taylor's kits. A postcard. And I made it into a little tag. And I stuck a little butterfly at the top that was orange, a monarch. And this one I had some leaves as my charms in the middle of the signature. And the next page, I altered an envelope. And so you can pull this out to see the image. And again, writing space on the back. And then I made it into a tuck spot. And again, just writing spots. Again, some layering at the top with some trims. A journaling card, a scrapbooking journaling card, and it just says words to live by, and I had some rickrack trim. And then in that recipe book that I have, I did pull out, I tried to find some recipe that sounded fall-like, and I found one that said maple rolls, so I pulled that one out just to add a little piece of extra in there. And then this is a paper clip that I created from an envelope. And I had a pocket in there again, mushrooms from the kit, a label from a kit, from Lorna's kit, and then another recipe, that journal card that you could use to write a recipe on. And let's see, this one's more music paper. This one I did put some trim on the side of it. And this one was called Autumn Glory is the name of the paper. I added a little leaf down here from some trim that I had in my stash. A little tall pocket. And I did a little cluster down here to make a kind of a tuck spot on top of this tuck spot. I found a bingo card that had November on it. Also, this was on the cover of like one of my scrapbooking paper pads. And so I just cut it out to make it into a little tag. A mushroom from Lorna Taylor's kits. And some of her stuff I might have shrunk down a little bit. So this one might be a little bit bigger in real life. I just can't remember. And then here I added a little closure. And so that closes down on this journal card. This opens up to add some more space to journal. I have a cute little image there of like a mother and daughter. And so that closes back up again. And then writing space on the back. And this is like some vintage like school handwriting paper. I found a bunch of that at the thrift store quite a while ago. So I've been trying to use that up in some of my journals. And another fun pocket. This one I do have a journaling card that says love. I added a little piece from the Clipart fall kit that I cut out with a leaf on it. I added some trim and stuff up at the top. And then the back side there is spots to journal on, kind of on both sides of this card, which is why I chose it. And there's 2 pockets here, and then they have like little like index type tabbed cards in here that I had in my stash. And I thought here you could put like a little picture or something, so I didn't really decorate other than adding a little piece of the clip art in the side. But this one I did cut up a quote that said, "Live, laugh, love, and be happy." So I kind of spread it out, and then some more of that mushroom from Lorna's kit, and then another piece of paper from a book with flowers in it. Again, I chose it just based on the colors. When you flip it over, I do have another pocket that I stuck a little mushroom, another piece from the mushroom kit that Lorna has, another bingo card that said September. I didn't have the October one, otherwise I probably would have put it in there. But again, these were all like pieces of scrapbooking paper left over from past projects. So I was just trying to use up as much as I could. Another gorgeous little image. She kind of reminded me maybe of like a fall fairy with the colors. So I chose her, added some trim at the top, and again, the back side, you are able to journal on it. Another fun pocket. And so all these pieces come out. So I'll take them out so you guys can kind of see what the pocket looks like. Again, just paper from scrapbooking paper pads. This one, you could have turned it around this way, but I thought this one you could still journal on where it says count your blessings. So again, I tried to choose my journal pockets based on, or journal cards based on that there was at least one side to journal on. And a little sunflower journal card that I added a different journal card on the back of that one just to make it so you could write on it. This one said gratitude on the front side, and then you can journal on the back of that one. And then I made one of her Lorna Taylor's labels that I chose that had some yellow, nice gold yellow colors that kind of match the fall colors, and then you can still journal on the back side of that one. And I just thought that was kind of pretty sitting down there. Another one of Lorna Taylor's mushrooms from the Mushroom and Fern kit. The butterfly came from scrapbooking. And again, you can see I layered up some trims on the sides of some of these. Then we're kind of on the last page here. And so I have a scrapbooking paper that kind of had some lines and decorating, again, fall colors. So you could write on that, add a trim at the bottom, but it does flip open. And then I have another clip art image from the fall ephemera kit, and another piece that says memoranda. And again, that was in the cookbook that I started taking apart. And I think it was meant for people to write their own recipes, but I just liked the color of it. So I added that again as a spot to journal. Another little label, and I put a Tim Holtz label in it this time. Clip art from Lorna Taylor's fall ephemera kit, and then you can still journal on this part of it, even though I made it into a little tuck spot. And then in the last pocket, I think it was maybe last year that I tried my hand at eco dyeing, and most of my pages I didn't like the way they turned out, but this little piece right here I didn't mind, so I made it into just a little writing space. You can kind of see that there were leaves on that, and I added one of the images from the fall clip art kit, a label, and then another little journal card from a scrapbooking kit or scrapbooking paper. So I think it turned out okay. I do like the way it looks. Again, it's one of those things I tried. I don't know if I'll ever try again because it's just easier to buy people's kits that have the eco dyeing on them. It wasn't quite my thing to actually do the actual eco dyeing, so I didn't do that. And I think Lorna has an eco dyed kit too, if you want to do something similar, but don't want to do the eco dyeing, that you could just use the kit that she has. I think it's a little bit different colors than that, but it's a nice kit. And that is all I have in my journal to share with you guys. And again, it just closes with a little tie closure. I always leave my ties long, just because I think that whoever owns it can cut it down if they want to. So I always leave them a little bit long, because they could cut them down and make them into tops of tags or something if they wanted to, or if they really stuff it, that there's room for it to grow. Again, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys all have a wonderful fall season, and until next time, have a wonderful day and happy crafting.